So, hi, everybody, and welcome to day two of our Leading Leaders Unsummit, the mini mastermind where we are helping you transform yourself, your teams, and your organization from the inside out in just 5 days. So, today I just wanted to give you a little bit of additional information, really on the theme about building your presence and influence. So, we're going to talk about authentic leadership and strategic communication. So, first, I thought I would share with you a bit of a personal story. Back when I had to lead a complex conversation, I was flown into Ottawa to help on the board that I was volunteering on, and they had brought me in as the chair of the committee for equity. And I was going to have a conversation 30 minutes with everyone in the room there, all the leaders from across the country. And I knew it was going to be a complex meeting. So the things I did beforehand really helped set up it to be a super successful presentation, successful discussion. And so I was thinking about influence and I was thinking about presence, and this moment really came to mind as something that I've reverse engineered now. I deliberately went into it using a few strategies that I thought I could share with you all today. So one of them that really has stuck with me from years ago, one of my work mentors really shared that what happens in the meeting actually happens before the meeting itself. And so knowing that the topic that was going to be covered was going to be complex and maybe have divided opinions in the room, I deliberately brought it up with some key colleagues, key peers, and got their input. We talked about it, and it created two things. It created more clarity for me on what others would think about my presentation and the topic I was going to bring up. But it also created an allyship with them so that they understood what I was going to talk about. They had time to think about it beforehand so that they were able to actually come up and support me in the actual meeting. Even though beforehand we actually had potentially opposing views, by the time we got there, we had worked through it. They had really given it some thought, and we had some great conversations because of that. So the first one would be really talking to the people that you need to talk to beforehand, especially in a scenario where you know it's going to be complex. The other thing that I did was my personal presence. So I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the Amy Cuddy power posing concept, where you stand like you're winning, your hands up or, on your hips. They call it the Wonder Woman pose. If you haven't checked out the video, I highly recommend it. The idea is what you do with your body can impact the how you way you feel in the inside. So not only do you feel more confident, but it actually raises your testosterone lows, which is your confidence energy, and it lowers your cortisol, which is your stress. And so I did that as well as a lot of mindset work beforehand, knowing that I could go in with a really strong and confident presence before I even started to speak. And what ended up happening with those two things really allowed for a great conversation. A third thing that we did in that presentation is I really made sure that we started with the why. Why was I there? Why were we talking about what we were talking about? Why was it important now today? And it connected us with our personal mission as an organization to really set that as the foundation before we got into the rest of the conversation. So that was, again, another way to create influence by reminding people why we were there in the first place. So through that, I ended up having some great feedback on my leadership, my presentation, the conversation. I facilitated people, inviting them to share their thoughts, not just that it be Sarah's answers or direction or guidance, but that it was us as a whole organization, as a community of 30, 40 leaders in the room together, coming up with a shared vision and a shared way forward, which was really important, not just telling people what we should be doing, but getting the buy-in along the way. So in that moment was quite a big moment for me in my career, in my board work, but also in my personal self-expression. It was really an opportunity where I got to feel like I truly brought all my skills to the table in one moment. And it was really an incredible moment to be able to share that with people. So as I reflect on presence and building influence, this is one that came to mind, and I wanted to share it with all of you. So some of the key insights that I would like to leave you with today and potentially invite you to explore if they're new ideas or if it's something you've done before, maybe just a reminder to really look at how you want to show up. What is your personal brand as a leader? How do you want to show up in a specific meeting or a day-to-day today? So for me, currently, that is really leading with appreciative inquiry. So that's the idea of focusing on strengths and opportunities rather than deficits and problems. So when we look at where are we winning and how can we do better versus where are we failing and how can we fix it, you can just hear even in that language how much of a difference that would make. Another one that I've really been focusing on is to minimize reactive mode within myself and with any of the work in the teams and the delegation and the, collaboration that we do so that we can set up for ways that empower and build trust versus last minute anxiety and kind of reactivity mode. And the third thing is really around uplifting and empowering voices that are aligned with the mission and the kind of the focus that we're looking at creating. And so by recognizing and trusting that those that are keen, the ones that, agree with where you're trying to go and are supportive, allow them, uplift them, not worry about the other folks, and know that the people that are kind of front end of the change are going to help create excitement with people that are kind of not quite as early of the adopters. And that naturally creates peer pressure for the rest. So this approach I found has been really working well. I've been using this for a long time, but specifically in the last few roles that I've been in, and it really makes a positive difference in having people be able to follow your leadership and your guidance and want to participate and create buy-in. So some quick confidence and influence tips. I'll provide you my workbook after if you want to dive into this further, but really lead by example, like I said. So if you share your vulnerability, others will want to reciprocate and be vulnerable with you as well. If you share appreciation and gratitude and celebrate people, others will want to do the same. And so by stepping into creating how we want the impact of our own leadership and our teams and our organization to be, that helps other people follow as well. I already talked about power posing. So really just acknowledging the physical body of how you show up and you actually reverse engineering it and using that as a way to increase your presence as you're going forward into whether it's a meeting, a virtual session, a phone call, an in-person get together, whatever it's going to be. It makes a huge difference in how you show up and how you're perceived as well. The other piece is around listening and making people feel seen. So really just this active listening, and probably you've heard this many times, but understanding the value of using somebody's name, the value of paraphrasing back to show that you've understood, the value of being able to be present and not just thinking about all the gazillion things that you have on your to-do list, but knowing that your moment and presence with that person or that team or that meeting, how you show up and how focused and present you can be will make a huge difference in how the conversation goes. Speaking with clarity and confidence, really, this is all around not going up at the end of sentences, using intentional pauses, noticing the cadence, varying your pitch, all of those kinds of things can really make a big difference. Another one that I found has been very powerful as I've used it over the last few years, maybe 5 years or so, is the idea of complimenting people publicly. So if you share appreciation for somebody in front of somebody else, that's going to create a positive feeling for them. Unless they're very introverted, this may not be the best way, but in general, this is a valuable way to acknowledge people and the efforts that they're putting in. And it creates an encouragement or sort of highlights, gives some reward for the behavior that you're looking to see. I found that to be especially helpful when I've been leading volunteer groups. So how do you get volunteers to want to take time out of their personal life to work on the thing that you're working on? Influence. That makes a big difference. And then the other thing is, like I said, around the appreciative inquiry, what's going well, how can we do better? Thinking about strategic messaging instead of saying we or you have a problem, how are we going to fix it? Really looking at how can we refine our approach? What can we do for differently? Where can we build on this success? Really makes a difference between somebody seeing you as a valuable asset and a, uplifter, or somebody who's critical and puts people down all the time. So I'd like to invite you to explore any of those if they're new or one jumps out for you. And then a suggestion for homework is to really look at writing yourself a leadership manifesto to really identify what for you is important. How do you want to show up? What is your leadership brand that you want to create? How do you want to be leading this transformation in your organization or your business? What does that look like for you? And so you can look at your values. How do you want to show up? What your vision is, and keep it personal, inspiring. You can even use ChatGPT to provide a little bit more words for you, maybe better than you can write on your own. And if you want to share it in the group, I'd love to cheer you on. So I've put mine in the workbook if you want to look at it, give you a bit of inspiration. And then tomorrow for day 3, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about empowering your teams to take ownership of their own responsibilities and to really empower them to step up boldly into the next level version of themselves, just as we are doing that with ourselves too. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear what your takeaways are in the comments, anything that you find that you do for your presence and your influence. Any tips that you have that you want to share with the rest of us would be awesome too. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.